Mavrika! Welcome to a new episode of Let's Talk Taíno. I'm Priscilla Colon, co-founder and creative here at Casa de Ito, where our mission is to promote the Taino language and culture. So on today's episode, we're going to continue with Taino question words. We're going to ask and answer questions with the word Amaná, where. And I promise you'll be able to use these in your everyday life. Let's start with a list of verbs or action words that we're going to be using during our activities. To go, iba. To come from, guarico. To study, rokohawa. To write, ashajá. Now, that's a new word for you, ashajá. It is super important because you can use it all the time. Now, we're going to do an exercise where I'm going to set the scene for you, and we're going to ask and answer questions starting with the word amaná, where. So let's take a look at this first picture. Amaná, where? Well, this lady looks like she's looking for someone, so why don't we ask, where are you? Amaná buk, where are you? Notice that in the question, Amaná buk, I'm literally saying, where are you? I don't need to put in the verb, toka, to be. You can include the verb toka, to be, if you think it's going to be important, or it might lead to confusion if you omit it. But in most cases, you can leave it out. Now, let's try to answer that question. Let's take a look at this picture. What if you wanted to say, I am here? You can answer the question, dak mun ani, I am here. A long time ago, you learned that mun is the verb/preposition that means to be in or at a place. And so that's why you see it used in this sentence, dak mun ani, because you're referring to being in a specific spot. Let's take a look at the next question. Imagine that you are lost and you're looking for directions. You would probably use the word amaná, where? But what if you ask someone where you should go? So let's put that into a complete question. Amaná dak iba? Where do I go? How would you answer the question if you were giving directions to someone else? You can say, buk iba yara. You go there. That wasn't so bad, right? We used all of the words that we've learned so far to ask and answer that question. Now let's take a look at the next example. Imagine that you're meeting someone for the first time. Maybe you're curious to find out where that person comes from. So, how would you ask that question? You can say, Amaná guahotik guarico? Where do you come from? Now notice that I did not use buk, the informal form of you. I use guahotik, the formal form of you. As you may remember, guahotik is reserved for someone you have just met, an elder, or anyone else you want to show respect to. Now, how would you answer that question? Well, let's take a look at the picture. This looks like the Haitian flag. So, this person is most likely from Haiti. So how do you say, I come from Haiti? Well, you can say, dak guarico Haiti. I come from Haiti. In case you didn't realize, the name Haiti or Haiti comes from Taíno. That country preserved the name for the island that is now sometimes called Haiti or Quisqueya, depending on which part of the island you live on. Now, a big shout out to our Haitian sisters and brothers who tune in. I see your comments, your show of support, and we are so happy to have you here. Now let's take a look at the next scene. We're going to ask a question with amaná, where? So let's say someone wants to know where you study. How would they ask that question? They can say, Amaná buk rokohawa? Where do you study? Now imagine that you are at a college or university. You can answer the question, dak rokohawa mun boyararok. I study at the university. Remember the preposition moon? You can use it to mean in or at, and you see it here again because we're talking about a specific place. Now, here's an example of how you would use amaná when talking about documents. You may be asked to sign a document, and sometimes you don't know where you should sign. So, let's ask that question. Amaná dak ashajá dakat anulia. Where do I write my name? And how do people usually answer that question? Well, they can say, ashajá bukat anulia ani. Write your name here. You see how we use ashajá to write in a couple of different ways? You used it in the normal sense within a sentence, but you also used it as an imperative, as a way to give an order or command. If you haven't seen that video on imperatives, that is, orders or commands, I've left a link below for you to watch. That's it for our episode. Wasn't that cool? You got to learn how to ask and answer questions with Amaná, where in a variety of contexts that you can then use in your everyday lives. Now, why don't we review one more time everything we learned today? Amaná, where? Amaná buk, where are you? Ani, here. Iba, to go. Yara, there. Guarico, to come from. Haiti, Haiti. Rokohawa, to study. Boyararok, university or college. Munboyararok, in or at the university or college. Ashajá, to write. Dakat anulia, my name. Ashajá bukat anulia, write your name. As always, I'm so happy to have all of you here learning Taino along with me. I know it can be tough, but I'm so happy to see your dedication to this movement. If you haven't heard, we have a newsletter for which you can sign up to receive sneak peeks and some interesting language tips. I'll leave the link for you below. Want to teach the kiddos Taino? Check out our kids books. They are a great way to teach simple vocabulary words and phrases so that the new generations can learn Taino too. As I always say, together we can bring back Taino. In the meantime, tay karaya guaitiao nagu.